good evening, and it's good to be with you again this evening. I did wonder earlier this afternoon whether I would be here broadcasting with you this evening, as I have had a few technical difficulties with the video editing this afternoon. The software decided to play up, so I lost a couple of hours in production time, but we got there in the end with about 15 minutes to spare, so it's really good to be with you this evening. First report this week, we're going to hear from Brother Alistair about some of the things coming up in August.
Hi everybody, I just wanted to give you a few key things for your diaries and for things you get to know. First of all, we're wearing these in church now, so do remember when you come to any church services at all, as of this Sunday, you need to be wearing your face mask as well as all the other things that Gary's going to take you through in terms of safety precautions in terms of COVID. The big message I want to send out, two big messages of things that are happening in August for you to remember, is on the 19th of August at our 10:30 Eucharist, Bishop Karen is coming to join us to bless the new altar frontal that should be ready to go by then. Huge thanks to all of you who've contributed by making squares, etc., for this beautiful piece of embroidery and all sorts of different types of stitch, which you can tell I clearly don't know anything about. Anyhow, we're really looking forward to Bishop Karen coming to join us. Can you let Gary know that you're coming? We are putting in increased seating for that particular service, so don't worry about limited numbers. We're going to increase the seating so that as many people can attend, and we reckon we could probably get up to 45 people in that particular service. So please let Gary know if you're coming to the service on the 19th. The second thing, a message to all the PCC. You'll receive an email probably today, Saturday, to let you know that there is a PCC meeting. I'm putting together a draft agenda. The object of it is really some emergency stuff and stuff that's sort of backdated that we've had to do during lockdown, that we really just need to get things signed off. But it would be lovely to gather together, and we're hoping that there'll be nice weather and we'll be able to have a picnic out on the grass. So you need to bring your own food and drink and all the rest of it, and then we do need to be socially distanced while we're outside, but we can gather together as a PCC of up to 30 people outside on the lawn. So looking forward to seeing you. Could you also let us know your ability to attend or not attend? If you can't attend, if you could please kindly let us know so that we can make sure that we are quorate for that meeting. I think that's everything I need to let you know. If you are wanting to see a member of clergy or to see me, don't hesitate to contact me or Gary or Betty or whatever. I'm happy to give you my mobile number. You can get hold of me on it. And generally I work on that. I respond to calls after morning prayer at 9:30, probably to about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So if you are needing to get hold of me and you'd be so kind as to remember that Monday is my day off and you need to speak to me or you want me to come and speak to you, do realize you can get hold of me. Now that we're sort of easing lockdown, I am available if people are needing pastoral conversations or pastoral chats. I haven't disappeared, and I haven't disappeared not just online. So if you need to get hold of me, do so, and that would be lovely. With so many people in the church and other responsibilities, please don't wait for me to take the initiative. Okay, some people I will take the initiative with, but don't, if you need to talk to me or want to talk to me, do feel that you can call me and I am available to speak with you. I think that's pretty much everything, isn't it? Okay, just to say, for those of you who have been allowed out because it's the 1st of August, don't forget, wear your mask. God bless you all.
Thank you, Brother Alistair. And as you heard in that report, Brother Alistair's asked me to give you an update on face coverings and face masks and coronavirus safety, which I'll be picking up later in the programme. Our next report this evening is about bell ringing. A group of people in our church who do a lot and we don't see very often. But when the church is functioning properly, they give a lot of time practicing, ringing at main services and at weddings. The bells are an important part of church life, as they are a way of us shouting out to the community to tell them we are here in church, worshipping and praying, or that a great life event such as a wedding is happening. They're also, of course, used for major national events, both of joy and sadness. I thought, therefore, it would be good to take the opportunity to pay some of the ringers a visit and to find out about some of the exciting things that are happening. Bunch of ringers. Of course, like everything else, they have only just started ringing again and can only ring around half the bells so that ringers can remain socially distanced. The ringers are not often seen by our congregation as they operate from a small ringing chamber that is situated above the choir and directly behind the clock face. Let's remind ourselves what our full peal of bells sounds like. I've got a bit of video I recorded last year to remind us. All Saints Church has a fantastic peal of 8 bells and a very keen and active bunch of ringers. Of course, like everything else, they have only just started ringing again and can only ring around half the bells so that ringers can remain socially distanced. The ringers are not often seen by our congregation as they operate from a small ringing chamber that is situated above the choir and directly behind the clock face. Let's remind ourselves what our full peal of bells sounds like. I've got a bit of video I recorded last year to remind us. On Friday evening this week I went to visit the tower and I met with Tower Captain Michael Dilliston and one of our ringers, Les Seamark. Michael started by explaining to me and demonstrating how the bells are stored in the down position for safety and how they each have to be rung up into the up position before they can be rung properly.
So before we can ring on Sunday morning we have to get the bells up, which means from that position to that position, and it's rather like when you're a child on a swing working yourself up. You do it slowly, so the bell, the rope gets pulled a little bit and it goes more and more and more and more until eventually it's up like that.
So, good evening everyone. I'm in All Saints Church Tower this evening and I'm with Michael Dilliston and Les Seamark, who are 2 of our ringers. And I'm going to ask Michael to tell us a little bit about the tower and his role within the tower.
Okay, well this is the tower, this is the room where we go to ring. The bells are up there above the ceiling and the choir vestry is down there. We've got 8 bells. With ropes that look like this. And what else can I say?
How, the weights of the bells, how heavy they are?
Okay, the heaviest bell is 800 kilograms. So that's, what do you reckon you are? 80?
Yeah, 80.
80,
yeah.
so 10 times as heavy as you. And the lightest one's about 300. So, yeah.
And how old are the bells? Do we know how old they are?
Victorian. So
1891, I think, are they? They were recast, I believe.
yes. Yeah.
And have we always had 8 bells at Wyke?
Oh, Les is the expert on that.
No, we started off apparently in 1540, whatever, 45 or 1455. We had 4. They were recast a couple of hundred years later to another 4. One mysteriously disappeared. And this present ring is 8 that were cast in, I think, it was 1891 by tailors in Loughborough. And that's the only foundry we've got left in the country now, because the Whitechapel Bell Foundry shut 3 or 4 years ago. So we're on about, what are we on? About the 16th bell now, if you count 4, 4 and 8.
Yeah.
And how many ringers have we got at Wyke?
About a dozen.
And are we looking for new ringers? Is there opportunities for people to get involved and come along?
Yeah, we're always looking for new ringers. We're particularly looking for for young ringers, because the oldest, won't talk about the oldest. The average age in the tower is over 60, let's say. So we desperately need the next generation to come along, and we're working on it, but they're hard to get your hands on them because they're always doing something else.
And I know we're lucky to have some special facilities in our tower to help train new ringers. Would you like to tell us what we've actually got, and also what we're planning? Because I believe we're also planning some other things as well.
Yeah, okay. What we've currently got is a Bagley ringing simulator, which means that one person by themselves who's learning can ring with the computer, and the computer fills in all the other bells that person isn't ringing as if it was an expert band. And although we're working to be an expert band, we're far from it. So this means that the learner doesn't have to put up with the mistakes of everybody else, only his own mistakes. So that's what we've currently got. What we're hoping to get are some dumbbells, which are sort of bells but without the bells. It's everything else. It's the wheel and the frame and the weight, but no actual donging mechanism. And they will sit here in the ringing chamber above us, and they are sized for youngsters. At the moment, really, children of 10, 11 can probably ring our lightest bell. The big beefy ones might be able to ring the second one, but you want children to have company of their own age while they're ringing, so you want to have a band of children, which means you need to have a lot of bells that are light enough for them to ring, hence the dumbbells. And the dumbbells won't make any noise themselves, but they'll be connected to our simulator, which will make the noise for them. So they will be able to learn on the right weight and with a computer, which we hope will be an attraction.
Excellent. That sounds like we're a special tower. I imagine not many towers have those sort of facilities. Now, I know, Les, you're a relatively new ringer. What sort of got you interested in ringing? Why would you think you'd sort of come along and give it a go?
Well, I've lived down over the hill near Chickrell Road all my life in 3 different houses, and could always hear the Wyke Regis bells ringing. Practice night was on a Wednesday, going back a long time, 30 plus years. That's longer than Michael. It was always on. I would like to ring bells, but I never did anything about it until 2.5 years ago. And my colleague down the road, who's in the choir, said, phone up the tower captain. So I did. And he said, come along, which I did on January the 23rd, 2.5 years ago. And here I am. I've been enthralled with it ever since. It's great fun.
And I know you've been off and visited a few other towers to see some different towers and some different bells. Is there one in particular that sticks in your mind as a very interesting visit?
Well, I suppose the one has got to be Worcester Cathedral, because that's it's a bit over the top because it's 12 bells for a learner, and but Michael gave me a hand on the simulator before I went, and that was very good. I'm up to my 50th tower. That was up to the time of the lockdown, which suddenly the world stopped, and that was the end of that. And I find the architecture of the churches and the towers quite intriguing, basically, and the bells vary so much. Our bells are lovely ones, they ring beautifully. Others are not so, but yes.
Okay, thank you, Michael and Les. We're now going to have a look at some ringing in practice and the actual Bagley Bell simulator in action as well.
Yeah. Michael's just turned on the computer, and it's going to get its speed to me initially for about half a dozen, maybe up to a dozen times, and it will synchronise to what I'm doing. And when it's happy, it's got a particular speed. I've now got to. You need to bear in mind this is the first time we've all rang in about 4 months, so we're all learning, and there is no practice night at the minute, so we're in the hot end.
So that tells us a little bit about what happened at Wyke Regis in our tower and the ringing. Of course, if you're interested, to think about coming to see what the ringers do or to have a go at ringing, please do get in touch with the parish. You can give us a ring on our normal telephone number 784649 and leave a message, or you can drop us an email at info@parishofwykeregis.org.uk and we'll put you. Thank you very much, Michael and Les. I do apologise for the slight repeat at the start of that video. Once again, I dropped my papers on the keyboard, and I've got a very sensitive keyboard, and it stopped the video. So I have to sit still and not touch anything, which is quite difficult. So I do apologise for that. And of course, if you know the whereabouts of the missing bell that's been missing a couple of 100 years, do give Michael, Les, or myself a call. That would be most helpful. Of course, on a serious note, if you'd like to learn more about ringing, or just go and watch the ringers and see what you think, or if you'd like to give it a go on the simulator, do get in touch with me and I'll be happy to put you in touch with Michael and to arrange for you to meet up with the ringers. It's open to adults and children, and as Michael said, we're particularly keen to encourage young people because they're our next generation of ringers. And I'm sure there must be some out in the community of Wyke who'd like to come and have a go. It's something a bit different. It's actually very mathematical when you start to look at ringing properly. It's all about patterns and maths. And so if you're mathematically or scientifically minded, it's very especially for you as well. So do get in touch and I'll put you in contact with Michael. You'll remember that most weeks we've been hearing from Janet Hall, and Janet has been speaking to other people about what they've been doing in lockdown or things that wouldn't it be nice to hear a bit about Janet herself and things that Janet's interested in. So Janet's going to tell us this week about painting and what she does with painting and why she got interested in painting.
You may have noticed that how easily I can be persuaded to bring artwork into my ministry if I can see any connection there at all. And I thought you might be interested to know how this all came about. For most of my life, art wasn't a very big part at all. I was a primary school teacher, so there were some things that I did that needed art, but it wasn't until I retired and I was looking around for something to fill all those long, empty hours that I really took it up properly. Soon after I retired, I saw an advertisement for an art class in Lulworth Village Hall. And I thought, that's the sort of thing retired people do. So I went along to find out more. And it was one of the most momentous decisions of my life. It ignited a passion in me, which is still there and is growing, if anything. Not only for painting, but for artwork generally. When that class folded, I started to look around for other classes and other teachers, which broadened my use of art a lot. The first thing that they all wanted to do was take me out of my comfort zone and stop me being so precious, two things which I resisted, but once I allowed them to mould me, changed everything for me. When I started, I was very influenced by the work of my teacher, as all good pupils are, who concentrated at that time a lot on the rocks and cliffs and the formation of the rocks all around Lulworth. I still love to get back to a good rocky picture from time to time, but it is good to move on and explore other things. For many years now, I have been going on art retreats where painters get together who are all spiritually minded and spend a week both as a retreat, praying and thinking about God and putting some of their thoughts into painting. On one of these, I met an artist who had the expression, "It is the process that is important, not the result." And although all of us are very interested in what the result of our picture looks like. It did change my attitude to painting, that what I was trying to do was express something about me, or something about the Bible, or something about God's will for me and other people, and not just a pretty picture. This does have many difficulties. Firstly, however imaginative and spiritual you may be feeling, you still need the techniques in order to make it work as a painting. So I still need to go to classes. I still need to learn. And during lockdown, I have been having a class on Zoom, which has been about portrait painting. And that has helped me a lot because I have started to really look and see how people and figures are made up so that they can come into my pictures a lot more. I do see this spiritual element as the way forward with my painting, but I still love to paint beautiful scenes, rocks, sea, the mysterious wonder of nature. And who says that that isn't a way of praising God? Next week, I'd like to tell you about some of the artists who have influenced me, particularly some that have actually got roots quite close to home. So, see you then. Bye.
Thank you, Janet, and we look forward to hearing about some of those artists next week. As you know, Janet's been a great help in producing videos for this programme every week, and both Janet and I are still keen to hear from anyone else who'd either like us to make a video of them with something they're interested in or something they do, or if they'd like to make a video themselves, or if there's just an organisation they're involved in that's doing something special that you would like to share with everybody on this programme. So please do get in touch. We're also very grateful to people like Frank Tuff and Jeff Rivers, who've also produced videos for us over the lockdown period, and we encourage them to do more if they wish to. We now come to that part of the programme where we're going to celebrate some birthdays, so let's see if I can play the birthday jingle without messing that up. Well, that didn't work right, but it wasn't me that time, so I don't know what's up with that jingle. I'll have to do spray some oil into the jingle's mechanisms or something before next week. So, this week, we're going to say a very happy birthday for either those that have had birthdays in the last few days or are coming up this week. So it's a very happy birthday to Claire Dilliston, Catherine Jones, Anna Lake and Jane Dennis. And of course, if it's your birthday and you haven't appeared on our list, a very happy birthday to you as well. And if your birthday's coming up in future weeks, do let us know so we can wish you a happy birthday on our weekly programme. I'd also like to say a special congratulations this week to Joe Simpson's grandsons Alex and Daniel, who have both graduated from university recently. So congratulations to Alex and Daniel as well. The next report tonight is one I produced earlier today. Our church, being over 550 years old, has seen lots of people associated with it over the years, from kings and landowners to those who fought for the abolition of slavery and all sorts of other things. This week, I've chosen to focus on one person who is buried in our churchyard and who I suspect many of you will not have heard of, and what they were famous for. The present All Saints Church dates back to 1455, and within its walls and churchyards there are memorials and gravestones to several people, either well known, someone who was the inspiration behind something, or someone who has achieved important things in their lives. Examples of this is the grave of William Lewis, a young smuggler who is reputed to be the inspiration for the novel Moonfleet. The inscription, which can't be read today, states, "Sacred to the memory of William Lewis, who was killed by a shot from the Pigby schooner 21st of April 1822, aged 33 years. The churchyard also contains a number of mass burials of those lost at sea. Among them are 80 of those who drowned when the East Indiaman, the Earl of Abergavenny, sank in Weymouth Bay in 1805. Her captain, John Wordsworth, brother of the poet William, was buried away from the others to the south of the church. However, today I'm going to show you the grave of William Thompson, who died on April the 15th, 1879. Thompson lies here in our East Churchyard in the family vault with his wife, father and other members of the family. You may not have heard of William Thompson before, and you may also not know that he was responsible for taking the first underwater photograph in Weymouth, and he grew up to be a man of many talents. He was the eldest son of a wealthy father. He completed his education in France before returning to live at Yarnall's, Litchett Minster, the house that his father had caused to be built, which he named after the eminent naturalist William Yarrell. In 1847, William Thompson married Sarah Slade, a member of a well-known Poole family of merchants. Soon after their marriage, the couple moved to Weymouth and set up their home at 11 Frederick Place. Thompson practiced as a solicitor. These days, 11 Frederick Place is the home of Roger McGee estate agents, and the plaque showing Thompson lived here can be seen on the wall just by the front door. Soon after his arrival in Weymouth, Thompson's interest was attracted by the great wealth of marine life in the waters off the Dorset coast. The naturalist Philip Henry Gosse wrote of having had many interesting meetings with him, and set it on record that Thompson was a discoverer of several new species of anemones and seaweeds. Gosse also described one of Thompson's experiments in his book, The Conservation of Marine Life, referring to the seaweed known as peacock's tail. Gosse wrote that my friend, Mr. Thompson, scattered them in similar situations all along the shore, so that by now, under Sandford Castle and on the ledges between this and Bing Cliff, and in the little bright of the rocks below the Nothe, there are what I call flourishing gardens of them, fully established and needing no further care for their perpetuity. Thompson contributed to many other books on marine life and ornithology, and he also is recorded as getting involved in heated discussions in 1856 about the future of Dorset County Museum and the Dorchester Reading Room. Thompson was also a member of Weymouth Town Council for 11 years, and also serving the latter part of that as an alderman. One stormy day, Thompson and a friend named Kenyon found themselves weatherbound for several hours at the Ferry Bridge House. They were seated in a room that looked out towards the bridge itself. Through the bridge's arches they could see the Fleet water running like a millstream underneath. Thompson began to consider the effects of the great force of the water must be having on the piers of the bridge. He envisaged the possibility of extensive underwater damage and the difficulties and expense that would be entailed in sending a diver down to discover what repairs would be necessary. It was then that he had the idea that, in such an event, a camera might be of considerable assistance. With Thompson, to think was also to act. He already owned a camera, which he was in the habit of using in conjunction with his natural history studies. A box large enough to contain the camera was built. The front of the box was made of a plate glass, and on the outside of the front there was a heavy weighted shutter, hinged at the top, that could be raised by a long string attached to it. Thumb screws secured the back of the box, so that when the camera had been placed in it, it could be made reasonably watertight. The box was fitted with an iron tripod and provided with a rope for lowering it onto the seabed and pulling it up again. Thompson and Kenyon then decided on a sheltered position in Weymouth Bay to try out their camera housing. They lowered the housing into 18 feet of water to the seabed, and then they operated the shutter from a line that came back up to the boat. It took 2 attempts, but by the second attempt, under fading light, they were successful and took their first underwater photograph. Although the black and white photograph is nothing to write home about and is quite indistinguishable, it was quite a remarkable event, as this photo was taken less than 20 years after the first ever recorded photograph, and almost 40 years before the first image was captured while diving. Some 164 years ago, therefore, the first ever underwater photograph was taken in Weymouth Bay by somebody buried in our churchyard that many of you will not have heard of, although he has left a lasting legacy and the foundation of a hobby and profession now followed by many scuba divers and professional divers and marine archaeologists. The peacock's tail seaweed that he propagated still flourishes in Weymouth Bay, and pieces of it sometimes are found washed up on Weymouth Beach, and perhaps these may be regarded as constituting another of William Thompson's memorials. But the main one, of course, is in Wyke Cemetery, where he lies in the family vault, and from the hill above you can look out across the bay that Thompson loved so well, and beneath whose waters he took that world's first underwater photograph. There you go. I wonder how many of you actually knew about William Thompson and the first photograph taken. And as it says in that report, it was not just an underwater photograph. Photography had only been invented 20 years before, and he was actually quite unique to actually have a camera, because there were very few cameras around at that time. And it was a further 40 years before a diver took a proper photograph when diving. So quite a fantastic feat, and somebody who is in our churchyard at Wyke Regis. And we've got other people like that which we will mention in other weeks and try and raise awareness of them. I wonder how many of our local scuba divers and members of our congregation of scuba divers knew about William Thompson and his photograph. I thought for the final piece this evening I'd come back to what Brother Alistair had asked me to do and cover the use of face coverings and face masks, as it's very hot off the press, and in fact it was only yesterday that it was announced by the Prime Minister at lunchtime that it will be a legal requirement from the 8th of August to wear face coverings in church, although of course they're asking us to wear them straight away. So here is a short information video I produced this afternoon just to update people on this. Hello, Brother Ali's asked me to speak to you all and to let you know about the arrangements with face masks now and face coverings now that these will be compulsory in church from the 8th of August. Of course, we are strongly recommending that people start to wear them straight away. Now, I'm going to run through the different types of face mask and face covering, but first of all, some general safety things with the coronavirus. The reason we need to wear safety masks and coverings is that the main way that people get infected is that when somebody breathes out, coughs or sneezes, that droplets leave their mouth or nose and they travel through the air. Now, the heavy droplets will fall to the ground or fall onto a surface and potentially contaminate a surface, but smaller droplets remain airborne and can travel further away. So basically that's why the government are now asking those that gather in places like church to wear face coverings as well. So a face covering is this sort of thing that people are making homemade themselves, or can be a scarf or other material that covers the mouth and nose, and it's important that it covers both the mouth and nose. It's no good wandering around with your nose hanging out or it not covering your mouth properly. Whatever you wear, it must properly cover your mouth and nose. Now, the face coverings do not protect you as an individual, but what they do is protect other people. So if we cough or sneeze, then the droplets are caught within this material. The material is not good enough to filter the air that we breathe in, but it will protection, because we will be protecting everybody else from us coughing or breathing out or sneezing and putting those droplets in the air. Now, when we wear these masks, it's very important that when we take them off, we don't actually touch the material because the material itself, either inside or outside, could be contaminated. So it's best to take them off with the ear fixings, and we should be regularly washing them in a very hot detergent, okay? And they can be reused. Then if you come to church and you haven't got a face covering, you'll find that we'll have a box of these things. These are surgical masks. And again, it's quite important how these are worn. The blue side always goes outside. They go over the mouth and nose, and they go over the ears at the side. And the important thing is that this comes down under the chin, and the bit over the nose, there's a wire in, and we pinch the wire to go round the nose and a good fit on the nose. And we make sure it's under the chin, and tight at the sides. Again, it's important that the nose and mouth are always covered. These are for single use only, so once you've put them on and taken them off, they should be disposed of, and you shouldn't use them for more than 3 hours. And if they get moist or contaminated, obviously they need to be disposed of. And again, when you take them off, we don't touch the blue bit. We take them off by the ears and put them in the bin. Of course, if we touch the blue bit, this is potentially contaminated. Our hands are now contaminated, and then if we touch our face or the corners of our eyes, this is how the virus gets into people. So this is why hand hygiene and using hand washing facilities and gel is very, very important, because we can contaminate ourselves from our own mouth and nose, and touching masks, or by touching surfaces like tabletops or door handles. So that's why we have to clean our hands very, very frequently, and we have to use gel. Now, there are other types of masks out there, and this is a proper face mask, and these are for people that are actually exposed to the virus a lot to do their job, and these have to be properly sourced, and they have to be what's called fit tested. So they're actually not very good for people if you just buy them off the shelf and wear them. They have to be fit tested so there's no leakage around your face. The other thing that we see people wearing is these things. These are face visors. Now, these are not to be confused with face masks. These give no protection to your mouth and nose from breathing in a virus. They are there to protect your eyes. They're exactly the same as a pair of safety glasses or goggles. So this is not a face covering or a face mask. So, if you see people wearing these around, they are not complying with the law, and they are not protecting their breathing system, their respiratory system from breathing in. So very important. These are for protecting eyes. These things for protecting our nose and our mouth, and of course our homemade face coverings. If you're in any doubt, of course, please do ask. I think we're going to be bearing with these precautions for some time, but we can all keep ourselves safe by keeping our distance, our social distance, 2 meters at least if possible. That's so that droplets, if they are in the air, fall before they get to us. By frequent hand washing and use of hand gel, making sure when we're in spaces where there's lots of people that we are wearing our face coverings or face masks to protect other people and ourselves, and making sure that we don't sneeze and cough over people. If you're in the home environment or you're in the work environment, you can also make sure you regularly clean, regularly touch things like door handles, kettles, microwave ovens, those sorts of things that we touch, because that's the other way that the virus is being transmitted. I hope you find that useful, but please don't be afraid to ask any questions if you need to. Okay, well, hopefully that filled in any gaps for you in terms of face coverings, face masks, and the simple things we can do to protect ourselves from coronavirus. And actually, it really is, with this virus, the simple things that are going to make the difference. It's the social distancing, it is covering mouth and nose when you cough and sneeze, it's wearing masks and face coverings, and it's good hand hygiene and not touching your faces that will make all the difference and keep people safe and keep the virus under control. If you're in any doubt, of course, please do ask, particularly if you don't understand anything that we've told you. As we come to the end of the programme tonight, don't forget to get in touch if you want to come to the service on the 19th of August at 10:30 with Bishop Karen. We need to know who's coming for numbers, and we don't really want people just turning up on the day. We need to make sure we can accommodate everybody who wants to come. As Brother Ali said, we do have plenty of seats, hopefully around about 45, so I think most of the people that want to come will be able to. A notice from the food bank is, if you'd like to donate anything to the food bank, they currently need tea and toothpaste and carrier bags. Now, I know previously when they've asked for carrier bags, they've asked for them to be washed, but they don't need to be washed any longer. So if you can help the food bank, tea, toothpaste and carrier bags. And that can be dropped off on a Tuesday between 10:30 and 12:30. And a plea in completely the opposite direction, please no pasta. They have absolute tons of pasta, and they please ask people not to drop off any more pasta. They've got masses and masses of pasta. Also, to remind you that the PCC meeting will be on the 23rd of August at 12 noon. It will be a picnic and meeting. If you're on the PCC, you will get an email and an agenda in due course, and please do let us know whether you can or can't attend. Also, to remind you, our quiz is at 7:30 tonight, and of course our Sunday services tomorrow at 9:30 for the live stream service and 11 o'clock for the communion in All Saints Church. Other things this week are the 6:30 private prayer session on Tuesday, that's 6:30 to 8:30, and communion in All Saints Church at 10:30 Wednesday morning for the over 70s and those who have been shielding. And of course, I will be back next Saturday at 6 o'clock, as long as the computers and software behave themselves. And I hope you all have a nice weekend and a really good week ahead. And I look forward to being with you all again next Saturday. Good night.